the Latina Leadership Podcast, the podcast made for Latinas by Latinas. Get comfortable, amiga, and enjoy the conversations.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Latina Leadership Podcast. On today's episode, we have another co-host, Olga. How are you? How are you doing? I am so excited to have you part of the podcast itself. Olga, introduce yourself because they're going to be seeing a lot of you.
Thank you. You couldn't possibly be more excited than me, though. I definitely have to say. I'm definitely more excited. My name is Olga Rodriguez. And I came across this beautiful little video by Latina Leadership with these bright purple colors. And I thought, who is that? They look like me. They sound like me.
Yeah.
And here I am. This is my journey of finding you, Anjelica.
Yeah.
You're like a magnet.
I'm happy you came across the podcast itself. I think so. For those who don't know, let's start somewhere. Let's begin the journey. So what we had going on last year is I had an amazing co-host who, of course, had to move on to bigger things. They had to move on. I know we had one co-host during the year. She actually gave birth. She had to take care of her kid. And another is a writer, and she wanted to pursue her career a little bit more. And so, long story short, is I quickly lost a few co-hosts because they were on with me for almost a year. And so we put the word out that the Latina Leadership Podcast, because the way it was set of having multiple co-hosts was an amazing experience. And I simply want more voices on here. It's not me. It's never going to be just me. It's going to be the community. And Olga, you're part of that community. So we reached out. So we said, hey, we want co-hosts. For those who've seen that little form that came up, and we had amazing applicants. And you were one of those very bright stars that kept shining through. And so, we got together. We had the conversation. I have to say, you were just like Susie, you were stellar and you stood out, and it was hard to forget you. And I was like, no, she has to be on the podcast. She has to be part of it. She has to be part of it. I don't know how she has to be part of it. So with saying all of that, I want to ask just a few questions so they can get to know you just a little bit. When we talk about these topics, and you know the topics by now, we've had a few conversations. How do you feel you're going to bring yourself to the conversations, specifically those topics? We want to get to know your background a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. So, I think, especially with the people that you've brought on, right, there's this commonality of whether it's struggle, right? So I bring that. I'm like, I have no problem being who I am, unapologetically. I've learned a lot being Latina in society, in America, in family, in work, in play, right? All of it. And you don't want to continue to feel like you just can't be your whole self, right? To deny yourself the opportunity to show up. And so I think that's what it is I want to bring that. And a lot of that is very similar story, immigrant family, moved to the US, assimilated to American culture, right? All the things. Someone who has a dream, who has a whole family, I'm a mom, right? A mom of 3 kiddos from 9, which, by the way, my 9-year-old, she's 9 going on 20, okay? She's the only girl, and she's she's the baby too. So, 9-year-old little girl, all the way up to I have a teenager for the first time. I've never had a teenager before. Do you know what I mean?
No, I remember those years. I remember those years of having a teen boy. I have a young adult now.
And you're a young adult yourself, so I don't even know how you pull that
off.
Hope
so. No, hombre, I'm reaching that age that I'm just like, oh my God, Anjelica, pretty soon I'm going to have to retire from all of this. So you're mom of 3.
Mom of 3.
You're in California. You're in the Bay Area.
Yep. I'm actually technically not in Sacramento area. I'm not in the Bay Area, because for the people in the Bay Area are going to be like, she's not in the Bay. The Bay is Oakland, Hayward, San Francisco. They're in the Bay Area and they're so proud of it. They should be. It's beautiful over there. I'm considered like Sacramento,
Okay.
Sacramento area. Yep, yep. I'm in a little town.
How far is it? How far is Sacramento from the Bay Area?
Oh, Sacramento to the Bay is like 100 miles, 100 plus, depending on where you're going.
Oh, okay. Here.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half to 2 hour drive, depending on where in the Bay you want to go.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
that could easily be from like here to Austin. So yes, Austin people would be very offended if you call them Houstonians. Yeah.
right. See what I mean? Yeah. So I'm close to the Bay, but I can't say I'm from the Bay because I'm not in the Bay. But yeah, I'm in the Sacramento area. So Northern California. People that ask, like, it's always like, oh yeah, I live in Northern California.
Okay.
And then you kind of like give them an idea, right? Oh, you live in San Francisco? No. I'm like north of that. I'm in Sacramento, or I'm just south of like Chico,
Okay.
Reno. People know Reno a lot for some reason. Tahoe, Lake Tahoe.
Oh, Lake Tahoe. Okay, yeah. That I've heard.
Hey, you know that. There you go. Lake Tahoe. Yep. I'm just south of that. I'm like an hour away from Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
So I'm kind of in the middle. But yeah.
How did your family end up in Sacramento, or how did you end up in Sacramento?
So I grew up inner city LA, right? Like I was in LAUSD. Anybody that like shout out to the people in the LAUSD district, okay? If you know, you know. I grew up in Southern Cali, LAUSD, lived in the Valley for a little bit. When I say the Valley, it's like San Fernando Valley, Reseda, Northridge area. Yeah. And then I made a move in my early 20s. I won't say how old, but I must have been like just turned 20, up north to the Bay Area to be with my parents. I was there for a little bit, like career change type of moment, right? Where I thought I was going to do real estate. And a job opportunity actually took me to a little town called Roseville. I didn't even know where it was, but I took the job because it was like 68 a year,
Oh,
like amazing opportunity. And I was like, of course I'll take it. So that's how I ended up here. I moved to that town early 2000s. And it just was nothing like LA. And I loved that, right? Like small town, very calm and quiet and slow and, no traffic. Got to emphasize no traffic. And that's how I ended up in Sacramento. Yeah, I never left. I stayed there. I bought a house near, like 15 minutes from where I moved the first time, and I never left.
a lot of the times on the podcast, we do speak to corporate women. How has your corporate experience been?
Ooh, okay. So the majority of my experience in corporate, a lot of it was service centered. I worked for a contractor who provided services, traveled a lot, had amazing experiences. And then I moved on to commercial real estate, which was corporate. Um, I can't say that I'm running back to it.
Okay.
So it was like a blessing
Mm-hmm.
because I got to learn so much. Um, it drove me to work really hard, but it was a lot of hours. And I had a very young family, and you have to sacrifice in corporate. So it's like it's a blessing and a curse. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to climb up the corporate ladder until you do. And you will either find yourself in a place where um, you just decide you want to keep that lifestyle because it's a great lifestyle, right? When you do that. But a lot of people find that when they have young families, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not the right path for or the wrong path for everyone. It served me well, and I got to do a lot of things and meet a lot of people. But I can't tell you that I'm running back to it.
Honestly, that because it's true, a lot of women do recognize that when they're trying to raise toddlers or infants and they're trying not to go just directly right back to work, or at least not working completely full time, not being able to be there with their family or their young kids.
It's hard. I mean, I don't think I've ever met someone, unless you were, head of the corporation, high top executives, right, where you can hold a position corporately that is part time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the demands for your attention and your time, because the stakes are high,
Yeah.
because it's a big corporate. So Yeah, I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about what I didn't like and what I didn't want anymore and what wasn't worth it. And then I made the decision right before COVID. I wish I would have known, but everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? In 2019, that I was like, I'm just gonna be an entrepreneur and struggle and do it by myself. Said no one ever. Said no one.
So a lot of the entrepreneurs will definitely like jump on board with you because again, that's one of the major things of the kind of the selection process. It was like I need women to be able to, and there were just so many places where I feel like I could see you in a lot of the women that I bring onto the podcast. I could see you in a lot of like my relatives, my nieces, my sisters. Like it felt very much like, oh my God, she's just like us. She's just like part of us. I don't think we're so far fetched from the Texans and Californian Latinas.
Right.
So I have a question. Then let's talk a little bit about the topics that we usually talk about. We
Yeah.
have education, part of the education conversation coming up. What's your take on education?
Oh, education is a double-edged sword. I'm going to tell you why. Um, Technology and how things are just happening so fast right now. Okay, and so it's a mixed bag of like obviously, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to school, right? But then now you're in debt, and that doesn't make sense. And then you hear like the Elon Musks of the world say, you don't need to go to school. School, you're just going to learn how to, meet deadlines or be organized, right? You can
Yeah.
learn everything that you want and be who you want to be. And so I think it has a place, but I do think that education right now is highly commercialized. Um, but I don't want to like
Discouraged.
validate. Yes, I want to validate all my people, especially Latino, Latinas, right? We're like first generation. Like, I don't want to take that away from you because it is valuable. And in many rooms that you want to move into, you have to have certain credentialing. And I think sometimes you do, teachers, etc. So it's the double-edged sword. But I will tell you what I tell my children, which is if you want to have a trade, if you want to be a plumber, if you want, right? Then that's your path, and you're going to need to probably have an internship, right? Like go through the process and learn. If you want to be a doctor, then be prepared to go through that path and go to university and right, do that. But it's not the only way, right? If they make the decision that they don't want to go to college, I could be okay with that. But I do want to know what you want to do, and I want to support you through that too. And maybe it's opening up your own bakery. My oldest, who we call him Honey Bear, Noah, has been baking since he was 9. Like this kid will wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to bake croissants, but he won't wake up, for school on time otherwise. Do you see what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah. He dreamt about croissants and he was like, yeah, I got to get on that one.
I promise you, he's like, how do we make bolillos? Okay, mom, I got the recipe. Let's go. And he'll stay up till 1 in the morning. He has this drive to do that. And he may not want to go to college because he wants to open up his own bakery.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So then I can't be like, no, you got to go to college. So I know that could be a little contradictory, especially for all of our, mi gente, right? Where we're like, oh my God, our parents sacrificed so much to bring us to this amazing country for us to be like, I'm not going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, my journey, I did do some college, specifically in real estate because it happened to be the trade that I was in. Do you know what I mean? So it was like requirement and I needed the knowledge. Um, and so now I want to pursue a degree in communications a little bit more, but I'm right at that, like, do I really want to go into debt? Do I, what is it going how is it going to serve me? Or am I just trying to get a piece of paper? So again, like I gotta validate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's where I'm at with education. I think everyone should have the opportunity 100%. What, like, where's the free education? Like, what is taking so long? Why can't everybody have free college
I
already?
know. Don't even get me started on that.
Can we just forgive all the loans? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, we're both going to get canceled here.
I'm okay with that. Well, maybe
We're cool.
maybe not. Maybe not yet. Let me make it
Not
past.
yet. Hold on. Let's go through a few episodes first. So one of the things that I do, I believe that I think the same way that you do, but I want to be really honest. It's with getting your education comes a lot of hardships, unnecessary hardships. They're so fucking unnecessary. Like the price, I was looking at an old newspaper. Do you know how much it was to attend the University of College down the street from us? It was $2,000 a semester. You know what it is now? About 15, 16. That is fucking outrageous. That is more than 30, 40,000 a year to be able to get some degrees in the same university. That it was that piece of hate, that newspaper was in the 90s.
Wow.
That wasn't even that long ago. Like it wasn't even that like early 90s, I should say. I should emphasize on that. But it wasn't that long ago. But like I said, there's so many unnecessary pains and so many unnecessary things that come with seeking out that college degree, and it shouldn't be that hard. We should not meet these barriers consistently over and over and over. And I am afraid that the pandering of getting that of getting a kind of I don't know who called it what. I have some research that I'm doing. They're calling it stuff. They're calling it like the new generation of when you seek just one trade and you get certified in that, and that's it. Right. But what that does is it limits you into just that trade. It limits you. I mean, yeah, it's going to be amazing for you to be able to do that. But what about the rest of it? What if you do open your own bakery? What about the business side of it? Do you also get the degree for that business side, or how do you because there's some things that you're going to have to learn on your own to be able to do that. And so I'm scared that they might put them in a box.
Yeah.
And Olga, this is why I have you on here, because I know sometimes you don't think the way I do. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, on being like pigeonholed into one trade because they already spent all the money on that one.
Yeah, or they have already spent the money on it and they're 10 years in and they're like, okay, well, this is where I stay.
Yeah, I kind of have to say, like, as you get older, you get into a place where you realize that you can create what you want to create for yourself with or without a degree. If you hold this certificate to a standard where you cannot achieve the lifestyle you want without it, then you have created those boundaries for yourself, or opportunities too, right? So again, it's like if you're 40 and you decide you want to be a doctor, go for it, but you're accepting the programming that requires you to get there. You can't be a doctor without going to school. Obviously, you shouldn't be practicing without it. Yeah, I think it's difficult, and especially for our babies, right? Because generationally, so much has changed. They go into debt for school. Can they even buy a house by the time they get to our age? I don't know, with the interest rate. Like there's so much on the younger generation already.
It's incredibly unbelievable.
But you know what I mean? I'm at a place where financially I'm fine. I own my own home, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, but I'm not at a place anymore where I have to worry about that.
Learn, yeah.
I'm at a place where I'm like, where do I spend my time? Because I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not the case for everybody. So I agree with you. I think it's concerning what's happening in education. I wish that something could be changed legislatively, but it's such a big monster. Education right now, institutions, like that's like a whole conversation on its own, with experts and professors. I think it ties into even, gosh, I think about teachers that go through so much schooling and then their pay rates are so low. I'm like, how does that incentivize people to want to be teachers and go through all the schooling and then to just not even make enough money to survive?
To be able to accomplish, yeah.
When you got, TikTokers that are making millions. Like,
I know.
Dang it.
Yeah, it is. It is unfortunate.
Right? I'm like, I'm about to start making cooking videos in a minute.
Are you really? Or you're just saying it?
What else? ASMR? Like, what do I need to do?
Doesn't show that's a faceless account. I'm gonna start putting gray hairs.
I heard that was a thing. The faceless. What do they call that?
Yeah, the faceless accounts where it's just ASMR or it's just their hands like playing with toys.
Listen. Okay,
Olga, me and you are gonna start doing this. We're gonna start doing this on the mics.
Oh my gosh. I do watch some of that, by the way.
So do I. I go to sleep to some of it.
About it. Do you get your money? Um, but yeah, stuff like that makes you think like, oh man, that like you got kids wanting to, it used to be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah, and they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. I'm like, okay. I mean, but they're making good money, so how
It's
do
a
you?
career path. Yeah, it's a career path. But there's such a big stretch. But you can still make really good money without having to make six figures. Well, no, you can make six figures throughout the year. You don't have to make six figures with just one campaign or one contract, which is like 2 weeks long or something, So that, yeah, they're like up there, like making 90 or 900, almost $1 million a year. And I'm like, shit.
I know. I know. Trust me. I saw the YouTube numbers. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, my son can't cook. Maybe we could do videos. Maybe we can have him baking on YouTube. Obviously a lot of that is more of like I want him to have financial security, and if you can make some have multiple streams of income doing what you love and record, why not? Why
Yeah.
not? But I do think it pulls a little bit away from like the younger generation wanting to go to college or university. I hope that there's more of picking up trades. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I think that's very valuable. Obviously, we need that in the existence. But with AI coming, I'm not even sure like we're gonna have walking around robots
Game
knocking on our
changer.
house. Yeah, knocking on our house saying that we're the new plumber, right? Who knows how far along?
So many jobs are obsolete with this AI. As soon as somebody figures out how to really like, there's going to be whole corporations with no real people, just one CEO and a whole bunch of AIs and
Yeah.
making billions. Like that. Yeah, it is. It is, and that's why I think trades are important, because maybe we'll get an AI to figure out how to unclog, plumbing, but like I really don't see that happening anytime soon. So like we still need plumbers. We still need
We do.
carpenters.
We
still
do.
need, right?
Yeah, we do. We still probably, when I was going to say welders, but I've seen some AI. I've seen some robots
Do
armed.
some stuff, right? I know, I did too. But I think we got some time.
Yeah, yeah, we
Like
still do.
we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch Killer Mike, the rapper. Oh,
No, I
amazing.
haven't. Okay.
He's brilliant. He's also really talented, by the way. His music is great, but the reason why I bring him up is because he's an advocate for that. And a lot of people, they dismiss him because he's a rapper or whatever, but the things he's doing in his community, and he really does focus on that all the time, because that makes sense. That's reality. Like everybody's not going to be a rapper. Everybody's not going to be, the $1 billion YouTuber. Everyone's not going, like, there's only so much of that in your community, in your real community where you live. There's going to be people that are like making your city run and go. And that's the trades. Yeah.
Yeah, those are definitely the traits. So one of the things I also wanted to bring up about education is there's a lot of loyalty for the school that you attended. So, for example, like I know my son, he goes to OU, and already when he says he goes to OU, people are already reaching out to him like, okay, when you graduate, come like seek me out, come contact me. So there's already a lot of connections like that happen already, like in the corporate world, that happen to the day-to-day places where they're willing to help you. So they know. So that's one of the things that comes with the school, right? It comes with the territory. Here, A&M, it's a university here. They are notorious for being like locked arm to arm, hiring their people that graduated from A&M. Right.
Yeah.
All you have to do is send the resume, and they're like, oh, they're alumni.
We'll bring you in. I mean, there's definitely some perks to that, of being affiliated with the Harvards and the Yales and the local, right, universities. And I think you like use it. Why not?
Yeah, you paid for it.
Why not? Like
Use it. Yeah.
There's so many people that have gotten to where they have gotten, not because of
Yes.
necessarily who they are, but because of who they knew.
Yeah.
And who are we to say not okay? Because people want to work with people they like.
Yes.
As long as it's ethical people, like, you know what I mean? Like you get this opportunity. And so if you go to a certain university and that gets you an opportunity to talk to the right person and they like that you went to that school, a little bit of that is tribalism too, though, right? It's like virtue signaling. Like, where did you go? Oh, you went there. That means that you're this way or you think this way. But you see that in religion. You see that in politics.
Yeah.
Life is short.
We've had that conversation. I had that conversation with a friend of mine where I told him, the difficulty of getting like up in corporate world where the majority is a different, either ethnicity or different mind thinking than you. I was like, people like to work with people they like to work with because they like them. right? And I told him, I was like, and what happens is that hinders me from actually getting promoted or moving up the ladder. And he's like, yeah, because people, I was like, but that's the problem, is that how can I possibly get there and bring somebody else if I can't even get there? Like,
Right.
that's not, I can't do both.
But you can, because you can create it. So one thing I tell my kids all the time, and so I'll just tell you what it is and then I'll like unpack it, right? But I tell people all the time, and mind you, this is coming from someone who's like managed hundreds of people, like, you know, executive positions, etc. Okay. You don't have a boss. Like you hear people at work, oh, this is my boss, right? Who's your boss? Oh, this is my boss. You don't have a boss. Like that doesn't even exist. I don't have a boss.
Okay.
You have an agreement with someone when you go to work to perform a job, and you have someone in a leadership role that can hold you accountable if you don't do it or train you, right? But you don't have a boss per se, right? And so I think what happens is you subscribe to the idea that these people are your bosses. And a lot of the time as Latinos, who do we find in corporate positions that hold the key? Not Latinos, right? But we subscribe to the idea that they are our bosses. And we don't view ourselves as a boss. Like I'm the boss of my own life. I decide if I want to be on time for work so that you can keep me. But I can also decide to be a terrible employee and not show up for work every day and then you fire me, right? But I don't have a boss and I don't think anyone should ever, but that's part of the like societal programming, right? Your boss, your supervisor is your boss. No, they're not. They work with you for 8 hours a day or 3 hours or whatever you agreed to show up for.
They're your accountability partner.
What?
They're your accountability partner.
They really are. Like you have an agreement with them that you will fulfill this job description, but they're not your boss. Nobody has a boss. You are your own boss. But corporate America does really like emphasize that kind of structure, and that's why it's hard. It's hard. And like, do we really want to be, in that corporation? Like you gotta. Sometimes it's survival. You're just like, no, I need to pay my mortgage.
Olga, I always do this where I don't like to take people's time away unless it's absolutely necessary to do so. So with that being said, I am excited to bring you on to bring those hard conversations to this podcast, to this platform. I like the way you play within the sandbox, and not that trying to box you in, but what I'm trying to say is I'm also in that sandbox. We're also like trying to navigate that that space, and how do we play in this sandbox, right? Because it's built out for us. And so how do we take the sand and take it somewhere else to build out? I don't know what that looks like, but I'm excited to have you on board. Thank you for like agreeing to come on board. So with that being said, is there anything you'd like to ask me that I can answer for you so people can watch us? If there's anything, I promise you, bring on the hard questions or whatever it may be. If it is, hold me
No,
accountable.
I don't have any hard questions. I have so much empathy. I will, that sandbox you talked about. I think the move is empathy, like to really care about people. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I care about you. I want to know how you got here too. And I know you talked a little bit about it, right, with the previous season and the co-host. But at some point, you were dreaming about it, or you know what I mean, like daydreaming about it, or sipping your coffee in the car. Like at some point, this seed was planted that you decided to create all of this. I'm really curious to know what that was. Like, what did something happen?
Yeah.
Was it a dream of yours your whole life? Like, where did that seed get planted? Because you made it a reality.
All of this was built on the emphasis that my sister didn't have the opportunity to have this before she died. So yes, something impacted me, something happened. She died of cancer about 5 years ago. And we both had the same upbringing. I just had the opportunity to have some mentors who stayed on me. Who stayed on me with the conversations, to stayed on me with all, just call me back to high school and be like, hey, Dodo Bird, you have like about 3 credits to like graduate. Are you coming back? I'm like, yes, I'm coming back. Had she had somebody like that for her in the process also, I think she would have like, she fought hard and she was struggling to find her footing again before she was diagnosed with cancer. And I feel like she didn't have that opportunity to be able to She didn't reach 40. So, and you know how this is as we get older and we get into this age. This is such a pivotal time. And it's so, like, it's so, for me at least, it's so, it's a place in
I
my
got like goosebumps. Hold on. Like, you see him? You see the goosebumps? I'm like, oh my God.
such a place in our time where I've grown the most now that I ever did in my life. She didn't have that opportunity. And that's the thing, that I don't want to see another woman struggle because the life wants them to struggle. We don't need to show them, we don't need to throw them in the water and see if they sink or swim. Stop throwing them in the goddamn water without floaties. Somebody give them a fucking floaty. How do you expect them? You know what I'm saying? They never, like, we're so atrasadas and so far behind, and everything that we want to do and we want to accomplish, it's already difficult with our own families, right? We already have to adhere to these traditions, we know we're very family oriented. We want to keep those traditions because we know it helps. We know it does amazing things for us, right? But then we don't want to be limited to just that. I'm throwing everything at the wall because somebody somewhere needs some part of this. I know it's their education. I know it's their mental health. I know they want to, like, make a couple of dollars on their own other side business, hustle, whatever it may be. And I know when they're climbing that corporate ladder, they're so fucking tired. Becky and Susie, not Susie, I'm over here talking shit about Susie, and Susie are the other co-host, right? But
Don't
like,
be talking about Susie, okay?
but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're up against the women who've already had the opportunity, like, to be there, and that's hard, right? And so, but in all trueness, this is all for somebody that I knew had the opportunity, who had she was so fucking smart. Like, she had Erica. She had the opportunity to do so much that there were so many missed like life in some secessions in her way. And I don't know what it was. I'm only predicting what could have been, but I seen her become a statistic. I seen her become, I seen it happen all within her. And so I was like, okay, let's start something that somebody somewhere, somebody's sister, somebody's tia, somebody needs something from this. So that's where we begin, and honestly, that's it. That's where it started. It started from, because I know some needs something. So Olga, that's why I brought you on, because I need somebody who's gonna bring on those hard questions, those hard topics, who's gonna be like, no, they're all nice. I need somebody to bring in, like, you know, and we need the Latinas who keep us accountable to what we're saying, because it's not all niceties, it's not all roses and rainbows and da 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 da. That's nice to hear. Hope is one of the major things that we should have in life, but we're also not trying to communicate to people that you just have to wake up with positive attitude and you're going to be an amazing person.
Right.
No, this is a struggle. This is going to take some time. That's what I was afraid the podcast was going to be, a bunch of niceties. And I was like, no, let's mix it up.
We're not known for that anyway, though. The niceties. Is that a word? I'm going to look it up now. You know, Erica's holding that mic, right? She's holding that mic up for you now.
Yeah.
She really is. No, honestly, it's, that's what it is to be real. You know, I could start a podcast on my own and do all that, but
we know you can, Olga. So there's a few things coming and knocking, coming you know around the corner.
That's what I care about. Maybe it's because I'm 40. I don't know. There's a lot happening. Which, by the way, my 40s are the best. My 30s and 40s have by far been the best, but I'm the happiest now because I'm just not as afraid. It sounds like what you're saying a lot too. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so tell me if it's true. But was it just, you know, the loss of having your sister in this physical world? Did you feel braver? Were you holding back before that, and then all of a sudden you were like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this because why not?" Or were you just like, grief is a crazy thing, right? So what step in grief did you finally go, I'm doing this?
So I've always been eccentric. I've always been extroverted. I've always been that. What I started to do is I started to retract into somebody I wasn't after her death. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I'm stopping who I am because I'm in pain and I'm in grief. And what am I doing? I'm not serving my sister's death, like retracting back and just being like, I miss her. I miss her every day, all day. You know what I mean? That's me trying to do more is not going to take away from what I miss of her. So but I wanted to move forward with purpose. And that was it. And I remember Erica. Erica was always my biggest cheerleader to me. So every time, like, I would like hear it. Right, again, I've always been eccentric. So every time I do some wild shit, my sister would be like, look. She's like, yeah, huh? And like, I listen to a new song or from a new band or whatever. And Erica would be like, turn it up to my niece. She had a daughter. She would like, turn it up. And she would turn back to my niece and be like, isn't that a badass song? That's a new group. Yeah. And like, my sister was always like that. She was always very much excited about the things that we did together, and excited about the things that I found that I would share with her. And she was excited, and I was excited to see the things that she was able, to show me. Yeah. Like, Erica, where did you get that? And she'll come up with we'd go to the same goddamn store, and she'd fucking find things. Like, we love thrifting, right? She'd find things. I'd be, what the hell? I went down that aisle. I didn't see that. She's like, yeah, because you ain't got the eye. And I'm like, you
got that ojo.
Yeah, no, but Erica was like that. So, and I'm reminiscing now. So to say that yes. So there was a point in time, there was a pivotal, like, turning point that I had to shift, because otherwise I'm not doing anybody a service, like, right? Staying there. And
did you find yourself in depression? Is that what it was?
Oh, lovely. You know what? We need to have a conversation about,
because people are afraid to say that, like, say the word depression, say the word anxiety.
Yeah, no, I've suffered from anxiety and depression probably my entire life, but in my early 20s, I definitely did get into a deep depression where I lost complete hope. Right. So when you start losing hope is when when your therapist, everybody starts to get scared, because they're thinking like, okay, this is going nasty really fast. After my sister's death, I was like jumping out of bed with not even knowing I was jumping out of bed. I was like, I would be laying down to sleep, and then all of a sudden I'm like upright, and my husband would be like, what the hell? I'd be like, I don't know. I'd wake up and my entire side of my tongue, where I had just bit down on it from the entire night, where I was just so stressed and I was just biting down. My tongue was sore. Yeah, I would just bite the entire night down on my tongue. Sleep. It was an experience that I was like, this is grief. Like, I'm not just sad and crying. Like, it's a physical, like, place. Like, sleep for 2 hours. I dream my sister.
Wait, you have to say that again, because I think you need to. Grief is a physical place.
Yeah, grief is not just mental; it's physical. It completely takes you to. It takes you to where it's just you. It takes you to where it either ages you, scares you, mortifies you, makes you very fucking aware of your mortality. It makes you very aware of the necessities, the who, the what, the why, and what am I doing with my life. It is not, it's wild. And especially if you lose somebody that you're very much close to. I remember 2 years before my sister got diagnosed, my other sister said, isn't that crazy? We've never had anybody who we're really close to pass away.
Ugh.
And I was like, you're right. None of us ever said that out loud, but we knew that. And I was like, yeah, probably. And then my sister was diagnosed, and I was like, this is probably not going to go well. Because by the time,
you feel like you knew that? You felt that before?
I remember being at the hospital scared before she had found out, because she said, Anjelica, I'm at the hospital. My nephew's doctor, who's seen her lips like pale, and we're like, hey, you should probably go to the hospital because you're probably losing blood. So she goes, and she's like, they're not letting me go. They're holding on to me here. I remember just hearing that, and I was there within like an hour or two. And I remember just being like waiting for her to get the response of like what the diagnosis was. And I remember being just physically scared. I remember I couldn't stop like the fidgety. I was like, okay. And then sure enough, she said, Anjelica, I think I have cancer. And I was like, why would you say that? I was like, don't think like that. And she's like, no. She was, because they're not coming to talk to me. She was like, I think I have cancer. Within that hour, about 30 minutes, the doctors ask us to leave, and they come in and they give her the diagnosis, and then they give her the prognosis, because she was already at a stage 3-4.
Wow.
So yeah, so it went pretty fast. I think within that year and a half, we had lost her. So that feeling, that scared feeling, like never left. Like, and I remember that manifestation just like brings it on. Sometimes some thoughts bring it on, and something. So again, grief is a whole other monster. It's a whole other. It's when the person is young, right? Because she had her youngest was 3 years old. So we were struggling, and of course that changed the dynamic of my family, right? So it changed, like my mom aged like 10 years within that 1 year. It was so different. It's such a
I mean, that's a whole nother level of grief too. The when a mother
Yeah.
experiences loss too, I mean, it's not a level playing field, but oh my gosh. Then you have to see that. You have to see your mother.
Yeah. I'll share this with you. I don't think I've ever shared with many, but I'm sure with you in the podcast. I think my sister, and we always knew this, all of us knew this, and we would all still like not make fun, but we still kind of like play into it sometimes. That my sister Erica was my mom's favorite child. So she was always very forgiving with Erica. She was very much like willing to take care of her kids. Like, she was there. My sister needed help or needed whatever it was, again, because Erica just had a really, like, even though we had the same upbringing, sometimes Erica was in situations that just were not fair. And so with that being said, I think my mom just kind of took care of her just a little bit more. Or maybe my mom knew, or maybe like this is where I start to believe in like that other realm of worlds, right? Where my mom probably knew she had to protect her from something, but she didn't know what it was. Yeah. So when Erica was diagnosed, I remember her just being just tattered. She would wake up taking care of her. She would go sleep for 3-5 hours and then come right back to her house to take care of her again. And she did that for months. And, Erica fought hard. Like, she was skin and bones at the end. So yeah.
The gift of a mother to nurture.
Yeah. It's hard and it's difficult, but
I'm so proud of you.
woo.
And Erica's so proud of you.
Thank you, Olga. I appreciate.
I'm telling you, look what you created.
Well, because of people like you who come on board and believe in something that this is creating. No, in all true honesty, we all have wild ideas, and it's only the wild people who follow you along who are like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Where are we going? Yeah.
Well, everything is somebody's idea.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? I told my son the other day, he was wearing a shirt or whatever. Oh, I love this shirt. I was like, Papi, do you know that shirt you're wearing was somebody's idea? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, everything that we buy, the shoes, the clothes, the TV show, right? The earring, like whatever, was somebody created that. They were like, yeah, I'm going to slap together a tie-dye shirt with a chicken on it.
With the chicken on it.
Like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? A skull with a whatever, and that's a design. Literally somebody's idea. Somebody had to come up with that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of it is, we borrow from something else and that inspired us, but still somebody had to be given the job of designing t-shirts from whatever store. And they did that, and now people are wearing it like on a massive scale. So everything is somebody's idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I created
Well,
this platform with
that's
this
the
concept.
that's the whole idea of this is what we're going to be doing. So, Olga, before I let you go, I always ask every person on this podcast, but because this is your first time on the podcast, I have to ask you, do you
Okay.
consider yourself a leader?
Do I consider myself a leader? Yes.
Why?
Yes, absolutely. I identify as a leader.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Can
do.
you tell me why?
Because I do things even if I'm afraid. Because I don't use my positions of authority to put people down.
Okay.
Because I enjoy the process of failing, and I enjoy giving other people the opportunity to fail too. Because that's where you learn the most. So yeah, I think I'm a leader.
Ooh.
I'm just saying, you asked me.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the interviews you're going to do. We're already reaching out to those who you're going to interview.
Oh, sure,
It's
yeah.
already coming up. So I'm excited. Oye, muchas gracias. Thank you for accepting.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. I can't wait to meet you in person and touch your hair and everything.
I'm going. I'm telling
meet you
you.
in person and give you a big hug.
Don't tell me that because I'll drive.
Right? I've never been to Texas, so if we can figure that out.
That's a thought. Okay, let's see if we can work on something. For those who are watching us, thank you so much for joining us. This is Olga. This is our new co-host. She's going to be on here. We're going to give you all the socials. You're going to have to follow her. If you want to get interviewed by her, absolutely. Let us know. Reach out to us or let Olga know. Tell her, hey, I want to be on the podcast. I think I have some amazing, great conversation to be had. But definitely reach out to us so like that we can put you like on the block and, Olga, all the amazing things that have to happen. But
just do what Anjelica says and you'll be all right.
Bueno, with that being said, thank you for joining us tonight.
What did you think of the conversation? If you enjoyed what you heard, let us know in the comments. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you for listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast, and we will see you next time.